Today it is the aspect of foreclosures, the foreclosure process, and the redemption period. It's been about 2.5, almost 3 years since we've talked about foreclosures. And with that, I was talking with a gentleman who actually handles foreclosed properties, or another term, REO, real estate owned. Now, if you haven't heard that term REO, it is the abbreviation or acronym for real estate owned. Real estate owned is the bank term. And all that's saying is that it is the bank who foreclosed on a property, bought the property at the sheriff's sale, and they now own that. Real estate owned REO. So that's an important term that we understand. Something else to make sure that we understand. We go to the bank to give the bank a mortgage. I always like to let that one set in for a second. We do understand that a buyer goes to the bank to give the bank a mortgage. We're going to give the bank a mortgage in exchange for a loan. The reality is we're going to the bank and asking for a loan, and in exchange, we'll give them a mortgage that stands as a collateral against the loan that they give us. Mortgage says they can take the property if we violate any of the terms of the loan. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with. So then the next part is we want to look at the process. So the process of a foreclosure begins, we'll take a look at this full timeline. It begins with about 30 days later. How are we doing? Is that showing up for you guys? Give me a couple of head nods. All right. So it begins with 30 days after a payment. We miss that payment. We're late. The reality is foreclosure starts with a missed payment. Now, probably after the first missed payment, they're going to send you a note saying, hey, you're late. You got to make this up, right? And it's probably around 60 days that they're really going to get everything rolling. Now, foreclosures work. Come on in. You can duck under, don't trip over that. Foreclosures are done through a process called foreclosure by advertisement. For the bank to foreclose on a mortgage, they do it by advertisement, meaning they have to advertise to everyone that they're going to foreclose and take this property back. That is a process that they have to do it 3 times, I believe is the number. By the way, as with any of this, make sure that we all know we're not attorneys. So here's the disclosure. I'm not an attorney. Therefore, I'm not providing legal advice. And that's something we always got to remember. But it's important for us to understand this process so that we can guide people and direct them to attorney should they need it. Now, it goes through the 3 times, and then at approximately 6 months is what they call the sheriff sale. If you've ever heard the term as an auction, that would be the sheriff's sale. They may literally occur somewhere at the county courthouse. They're going to receive a sheriff's deed with whoever actually purchases the property. Well, that's exactly what it is. And it's a bid. It is an auction. They'll state that we have a property, the property number is 68190-384-5CB. Okay. So they'll do all of that. Go ahead and pull in the other chair. If you know, we'll find them. We have a really busy office today, so when you see me getting lost, just know that's what's going on. So anyway, it's an auction. So there will be all kinds of individuals that may be there to bid upon all of the different properties that have been foreclosed on and are at the point of the sheriff's sale. Again, this is approximately somewhere around the 6-month mark. Now, up until this point, the homeowner can sell the property if they can. Now, here's the key. And it was really dumbfounding to know that there's as many foreclosures as there is. Now, I say that because if you will, if I owe, let's say I owe 200, but the property is worth 300 and I can't make payments, what do? I sell the house, right? Because I've got $100,000 in equity, I sell the house. So it's dumbfounding that there's foreclosures. It just doesn't quite make sense. With all of the appreciation we have, you would think we'd have next to none. Yet there are lots of foreclosures that are out there. Now, saying all of that, can I put off, let's say that somebody gets right about here and they go, hey, James, I should have called you earlier. Didn't think about it, but I'm in trouble. I'm going to lose the house. We're thinking we want to sell it. What can I do? Well, obviously, sell the house, get it listed. And if it's really close to this, you can file for petition and ask the bank to postpone the sheriff's sale. So there is that opportunity where you can postpone the sheriff's sale. They're looking to make sure that the property is on the market. You may actually have an offer prior to. More often than not, they're going to go along with postponing. They don't want the property. It'll cost them more money to foreclose on it than it does to hold it, which is different from back prior to the financial fiasco that we had previously.
6 months won't make a difference. You're on the redemption anyway. You can
Yeah.
either way.
So one of the things that you need to know is you can hold off on it. Why hold off on a sheriff's sale? It'll save a bit of their credit. It won't show a foreclosure. It will show late payments. So there are advantages. But once the sheriff's sale has happened, here's the part where you've got, let me go back and get a different color in here. This is where you have a 6-month for redemption, if you will, redeem. I think everybody knows what redeem means. Well, redeem, redemption, it is the same thing. So one of the things that came up here, and if you didn't hear it, is if it is sold at the sheriff's sale, it's now done and somebody else has received a sheriff's deed. The homeowner, the borrower, has the opportunity to redeem the property by paying what is owed. So if they own 200 plus penalties, they would actually still be able to redeem the property by paying the full amount owed. Now, somebody who couldn't make the payments to the lender in the first place, what's the likelihood that they're going to go find $200,000 plus penalties and interest and pay that off? Pretty slim. However, this is the part that we all need to understand. They can do it through selling the home. And all they do is pay what is owed plus penalties and the interest that is charged during that time period. So if that went up to say, we'll call it, and I'll clean this up for you in a second, 220,000, they can sell for the 220 plus and redeem the property through sale. Now they're not going to own it. They've sold it, but they can collect all of the equity that they still have, even once it's into the redemption period. And this is the part that I think a lot of us forget about. It can be sold by the borrower during this redemption period. This may be longer, but typically that depends on acreage and there's a few other things. So we're going to go with the general. 6 months, they can sell it. But that 6 months is a hard date. That doesn't get waived. That one is set in stone. If they don't have the money, by the way, you can't, let's say it's March 15th is the last day for the redemption.
Yeah, deadline.
That is the deadline. The money's got to be in that person's hands on March 15th. If you closed on March 14th, but the money didn't get in their hands until March 16th, you didn't have a closing. Yeah, got to be in their hands. Whoever bought the property at the sale. So that's an important part for us to be able to remember. Now, here's the reason we bring up all that up. Is closing still going on the other side? Okay. Here's what we've got now then. I want you to think of a couple of different scenarios. Let's say, I put my notes on here. I'm just going to make it easy for me instead of thinking. Market value is 200,000. And I owe 215,000. I'm upside down, right? What's a simple thing that we haven't looked at in years, but could still be done? What's the process when I'm upside down? Because don't forget, I got expenses too. What was it? The short sale. This is a situation where go ahead and look at a short sale.
Short sales before the redemption.
And the short sale is going to be before the redemption. So this is someone who's missed payments and they're now in a situation where they're going, well, you know what? I want to do the right thing. I don't want to have a foreclosure on my record. Let me work out a short sale. And the term simply meaning this, as a borrower who owns a home, I owe the bank the money. I am going to the lender, asking them to accept short of what they are owed. Thus the term short sale. Okay. There's lots of ways that that can get worked out. If you haven't ever been through that, go to somebody, what's it been, guys? 15 years?
Oh, yeah.
At least 10, 15. You know, anybody who's been in the business through 2000 to 2015 probably knows short sales. Okay,
And a lot of them.
right? It's a different process. It's a unique beast. I haven't done one since probably 2010. Yeah, it can be a real headache. But listen, it's what we had to do during that time period because that was the only way the properties were selling. I think it was over 70% of properties were distressed sales, and I think it was even higher than that. So this would be a situation where it's a short sale. That's what we would move to. But I want you to know this. I actually had someone, this is fairly close to what the situation was, and we were trying to get a short sale. We had it on the market for about, I don't know, 4 months. We couldn't get this thing sold. It went to the sheriff's sale, and the homeowners, sellers were saying, well, what do I do? I said, well, at this point, let's let it go to the sale. You're going to have a foreclosure on your record. It's going to affect your credit. However, if it sells for what you owe, you are free and clear.
No, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead, James.
regarding the bad credit, so we have to be clear. Is it past the 3 months that he missed the payment or prior to that? So remember, past
What-
the 3 months, it's
No,
already
I'd
too
say-
late. He's on the bad
he's
credit.
saying
either
you
way.
went-
Yeah, but it's saving the aspect of the foreclosure, right, Sam? So a foreclosure on record is 7 years?
Yes,
7 years.
7 years on credit
yeah,
versus late payments will fall off.
yeah, yeah.
And so that's probably the biggest
7
difference.
years, but 2 years to buy a new house.
And then 2 years because there's ways of financing after 2 years. Still gonna cost you a bit. So it's best to avoid a foreclosure, yet often people are robbing Peter to pay Paul to try to keep the house. So maybe they want that additional 6 months of free living.
Could be 1 year.
Could be up to a year. It just depends. So again, we're not attorneys, so we always want to make sure we disclose that, but we want to give enough information to be able to help that. I had one lender that recently, whoops, let me get it back up here. Thanks, Steve. Had one lender recently say there wouldn't consider a short sale after the sheriff's sale was completed. Yes. That is true. And often don't forget, it's not just the bank who buys the property. Often, well, I shouldn't say often, not uncommon, especially these days, that a private investor, well, they have no interest in completing a short sale because now they own it. They're going to be financially benefited by doing that. So short sale has to really occur in that first 6 months and putting off the sheriff's sale. That would be one of the reasons that they will postpone a sheriff's sale. So let's see. Oh, by the way, so just keep this in mind. They're free and clear because typically the bank will send a representative to buy the property at sale for the bank. And don't ask me why they do this, but they often pay exactly what is owed. And if so, then that homeowner is now, again, free and clear of the property. In the scenario that I had, that is exactly what happened. And the buyer was able to just walk away from the home.
If it's the owner, he knows it's already the sheriff for foreclosure, they're gonna be closing. Would it be possible the owner could pay, but even how many payment behind to pay it, he stop the short sale?
Yes, all they got to do is come clean at that point. So if they're behind 4 payments at that point, could they make all of that up and be all, yes,
They could stop that to the bank.
Yep.
To the bank. not to
Yep.
the-
to the bank. Because again, they're the owners up until that sheriff's
they can
sale.
do whatever they want.
Yes. At that point, then they have to pay in full the full redemption period. Okay, so, or I should say, pay in full what is owed plus penalties and interest. All right, so that's a key part. Let me give you another scenario.
Hey, Darwin,
Yeah.
I had a short sale years ago where the bank agreed to it. And they also gave the owner, the seller of the property, the foreclosed individual, moving expenses. Is that still possible?
Yeah, so one of the things that will happen, I don't know that they're still doing it. I'm guessing they would, but you may have heard the term keys for cash. If you'll get out of the house before the full 6 months, they want possession of the home. If you'll move out of it and give them the keys, often they will give you cash in exchange for those keys so that they can take possession of the property earlier than the end of the redemption period. Is that what you were looking for, boss?
Somewhat, but the bank actually accepted the short sale. So we were able to get it sold at the lesser price, but they still gave moving expenses, money for moving expenses.
Because you were talking about the short sale. Yes.
Yeah.
That was a rare one. I think it really, most of this, guys, and what a bank will work out with a borrower depends upon their financial status. If they've got $1 million sitting in a bank account or in 401k or things of this nature, they're not going to give you a short sale. They're going to say, no, give us our money. You have the financial means to pay us. What we're really talking about is people that were no money in the bank, had no retirement funds, had nothing. They didn't have anything they could sell. They would work out a repayment or simply waive the shortfall. With other people, they go, well, you've still got a strong financial means because you have a job. You make a great income. Here's what we'll do. We'll take a interest-free note on the remaining amount for 5 years. Payments made monthly at. They would do that kind of stuff. But I think that's rare. And now where I want to move you to is the aspect of it's been foreclosed. Someone has purchased the property. And, well, we're in redemption period. So let's say somebody wasn't smart enough to sell it before. So again, we're past the sheriff's sale. We're now into the redemption period. All right. Some wasn't smart enough, didn't understand. They got a home that's worth 200,000. They only owe 100. Okay. Now it's plus penalties and interest, and they owe 100 plus X, whatever that amount is. For them to redeem the property, this is now what they owe. Let's call that 110,000. It's worth 200. They owe 110 now. What do? Sell it. So, guys, we just go out, we list the property. How do we handle it? Just like every other sale. In the end, I need a payoff. It's the same exact thing. Okay? Same as we've always had. Now, there is the potential, let me give you a different scenario. There is a potential that someone, let's say, market value is 200 and they owed 215. Everybody with me so far? Market value 200, they owe 215. And the property will say, well, we'll make it really obvious here. It's sold for 100 at the sheriff's sale. It's sold for $100,000. Okay. Odd as that may sound, this is typical to happen when the lender did not send a representative on this property. Okay. This is what the term that you want to make note of. This is called an underbid. An underbid. Here's the beauty to this puppy that we need to know. This was something that was fairly common. And I even had one as little as, 7 years ago that this happened. The listing agent didn't know anything about it. It was one of my agents who was the buyer agent who didn't know anything about it. She somehow brought it across to me to say, Darwin, this gal is da 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 da. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. This is so easy, it's ridiculous. It was an underbid. Guess how much the buyer owes now? 215 or 100? What say you? Do they owe 215 or do they owe 100?
They owe 100.
Back to Atlanta.
Yeah, Holly's got it. That's their payoff for the redemption. This is now what they owe. 100 plus penalties and interest.
Who do they owe that to?
Whoever bought it. Great question, Joyce.
He would
Whoever
be the
bought
new
it.
bank.
So probably not a new bank, but probably a private investor. So we're going to say Joe Q Public just bought this property. Now, does he want that homeowner in there forever? Not at all. He can go and say, look, you get out of here. I'll give you 10 grand. Why? Well, 100 plus 110, it's worth 200. That private investor can sell that property and get $90,000.
maybe even more.
Could
Darwin,
potentially be more. Go ahead, Holly.
Darwin, is the property still listed for 200,000?
Great question. So I want you to catch this. Because it's an underbid, because they no longer owe 215, they owe 100,000 plus penalties and interest. The homeowner can put this home on the market, sell it, pay it off, and walk away with whatever they can after all expenses. This is the new amount for them to redeem the property. Yep, you're going, well, that seems nuts. Well, it is a little bit, but
So
it's
the bank
legal.
takes a loss at the 215?
The bank is going to take a loss of the difference between 100 and the 215 that they were owed. Yep.
But that would only be if the bank bought it at the 100?
Well,
I'm confused.
no, somebody bought it and paid the bank 100,000,
Oh, okay.
right? So the bank has 100,000. Now, let me throw this out. I gotta say this correctly. The bank was owed 215. Now, I make sure that you understand. First off, they now owe 100,000 plus penalties and interest. That's what they owe. And they owe that to whoever bought it. Whoever that individual was that bought it at the sheriff's sale, who now has a sheriff's deed, that's who they owe the money to. Okay? They can then redeem the property by selling it for whatever they can, pocket all of that additional cash for 100 plus penalty interest and all their expenses to get it sold. They can keep that. However, they still owe the bank 215. I want you to know that there's $115,000 deficiency. And the bank could file suit against that borrower for that $115,000 shortfall, this deficiency. They could file for what is called a deficiency judgment. How often do you think that happens?
How can they do that if
next-
they put it up for sheriff's sale and that's sold for, I mean, to me, the bank has already agreed to that. Is that not true?
Well, the bank actually forced the sale of the property. They got the proceeds from the sale of the property. They're still owed, in reality, $115,000, but they have to file a judgment in court to get a deficiency judgment against the borrower.
Now, Darwin, how many years does the bank have until they can until they can file against the seller or the owner?
Well,
Previous
I'm going to
owner.
again say I am not an attorney. However, my understanding is the bank has up to 6 years to file for a deficiency judgment. If they win that and they're not able to collect for whatever time period that deficiency judgment lasts for, they can then file for another one. But look, it's been since 1987. A number of us have lived through the financial fiascos. The last one in Michigan really went from 2006 through 2010 before it started to go back up again, and probably took 5 years, James, before we got to where it was actually back to what people owed. So around we'll call it 2014, 2015, people became back even. At that point, So there was a lot of this that was going on. But now let me also throw this out. There was a lot of people who not only had the first loan, I can always tell who's been in the business for a while. They had a second and sometimes a third, but often there was a second. So the issue that you also have to take a look, if anybody has a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or they took a second out, it's a second mortgage, that still needs to be dealt with. Okay, so if they had, if you will, let's add into this scenario, they had a second lender and they owed, let's say 15K to, guess what? They're probably going to have to pay that lender that 15,000 to be able to actually redeem the property this way. It's just like anything else. You owe what you owe and you owe what you owe, but you get to keep everything over and above that.
Who goes first?
So it's always, this person, is going, well, they have the first lien. There's a lien that still exists against it. So it's sold and the bank got this. This other bank is going to get this because it still is a lien against the property until we've gone through the full redemption period. And then it goes away. Well, to redeem the property, you got to pay them.
The bank, you have forced to sell it, no matter what you get it.
The bank wants to sell it regardless.
Can you also decline that on that?
No, whatever it sells for is what it's sold for. They said,
They have to-
we're foreclosing, do the sale, it's going to happen. It might be one of the reasons that they do it. And by the way, I need to throw this out. The last I knew, Michigan is only one of 7 states that have the post-sale redemption period. We're a very consumer-friendly state. So if you, what are all the shows that are out there, guys? You know, you can go buy a foreclosure and flip it in California and make $100,000. And the difference is, and this is something that you need to remember as you're dealing with investors, especially new ones, they go, I really want to look for foreclosures. Well, in the state of Michigan, no, they don't. They really want to look for real estate owned or bank owned properties. It's already gone through it. Well, guess what? You're not going to save any money that way. It's going to sell for what it's going to sell for. It's the market value. It's just not worth it for most unless they can do this and take advantage of the situation. As real estate agents, we should be reaching out to these individuals to say, hey, I can still sell your house, put money in your pocket. And they go, how's that work? This is it. An investor is not going to help them. Now, the homeowner thinks they're being helped, but they're not. Key to all of this is we no longer owe the bank. We owe whoever bought it at the sale. To complete this sale, it's like any other sale. I just need to know who this is. I need to get a payoff from them. And that's it. They're the new bank. They're the ones who are owed. It's like any other sale. We're going to keep it that simple. Now, I want to throw this one out because this is something that just doesn't make sense that it would ever occur. However, there's a lot of ignorance. And remember, ignorance is defined as a lack of knowledge. So there are people that are going out. Let's say it's a $300,000 house, market value. They owe, let's call it 200,000. It sells at the sheriff's sale for 215,000. Did the bank buy it back?
Most of the time, yes.
Most of the time, but I'll tell you, here's what you want to look for. It sold for over what they owed. Now, this is the new thing that we haven't thought of, because again, why didn't they just sell it? Who knows, right? It's just not logical. But again, dealing with the aspect of ignorance, people don't know what they don't know. And maybe they made some bad decisions thinking another way is a better way. Or they wanted to live in it for 6 months free.
Most of the time, banks buy them because they want the property.
Yeah, but in this case, this is what I want us to watch for. This is an overbid. It's a newer term. So the bank didn't buy it because all they were going to buy it for is what they were owed. But a private investor looks at it and goes, well, the bank's not going to buy that. So I go 15,000 over. It's worth 300,000. So this investor is looking at $85,000 as a potential profit. It's an overbid. And here's what they're doing. So now they own it. They carry the sheriff's bid or the sheriff's deed. They go to the homeowner and say, look, I'll cut a deal with you. Get out of the house and I'll give you 15,000. And the homeowner's going, wow, I was going to walk away with nothing. I'll take your 15,000 and I'll move out. Now the investor, instead of 85, they've got what, $60,000. In what time period did they turn around and make that kind of money? So it's an overbid. What we got to remember is if we can find these individuals, we can help. Now, on the other hand, maybe you want to become an investor.
Each time they give it to the owner, when you tell them, I'll give you 15.
They may give them 15 days, 30 days. It's all up for negotiation as to what they may offer someone.
When we did cash for key, we bank gave them like almost 45 days to move on.
Yeah, so cash for keys, that was again, sheriff's sale done into redemption. They weren't going to redeem the property. The bank's going to them and saying, look, I'll give you X amount of dollars. I've heard anywhere from $1,000 to $20,000.
As long as you don't harm the property.
Leave the property alone, and that's really what they're looking at.
Just to go there, inspect the property and make sure, report to the bank, take pictures, all that stuff, so.
Yeah. So just looking, and I'll take some questions, and then I want to show you something before we wrap up. Linda, yep, most was $2,000 that she had ever done back in the time period. Yes, Joyce, they do and are able to live in it for the full 6 months of the redemption period. There's no cost to them. Obviously, they gotta stay warm, but not everybody had the money to stay warm either. Remember what those puppies look like during that time period?
Hey,
Oh,
Darwin.
yeah, Larry, go ahead.
Just assuming that seeing as they're into foreclosure, that they would be in arrear of taxes. How does that come into play?
It is all taken care of as part of the sale. So,
They'll be paid, the city will
they'll,
be paid
yeah,
everybody.
yeah, it's going to be paid. Gosh. Yeah, you're gonna have to take care of it. Great question, but yes, whoever buys it, if the bank didn't already take care of it. But typically that's why we do REO, bank-owned properties, because if whoever buys it, remember, taxes don't go away. Never. Nor do utility
Believe it
costs.
or not, even association, where they had a lien on the property.
Really, the association,
$2,000.
and that's stuck?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
The bank has to pay it off.
We were just talking about an HOA. Also, somebody had that experience.
So in a sheriff's sale, at that point, the tax is already taken care of.
No. That is something that whoever buys it is going to have to catch them up. That's still going to be a lien against the property.
That's at the end, at the very end, after the redemption.
Probably. Just remember, you know, you've got, basically it's 2 years and then 3 in full before, I believe, before the county is going to file for a tax foreclosure. So it's not a hurry to take care of it, but there is interest being charged on your back taxes.
Okay, I just want to know how that came
Yeah.
into play.
Yep.
Also, beside the taxes, when the property is vacant, the city will be maintaining the property.
Yeah, you'll have some areas where a governmental body will be maintaining the property.
Stern Heights came in, painted the house.
Really painted it? Wow.
I swear to you, from outside, we charged the bank $5,000.
Sterling Heights, you gotta love them. All right.
See how much they charge just to cut the grass.
Well, yeah, because they pay a boatload of money and then they're gonna charge you more.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to show you something, because we have tools that are available to us to actually go find these properties. So this, that I'm showing you right now is from Remine Pro Tax. If you're part of Real Comp, you have Remine Pro Tax available to you. If you're using, just about any of the others, I think you have Real List available. I know that if you're part of MI Real Source, I believe Midland, you've got that. So probably everybody has the Real List. You also have this available in Real Comp. Real Comp has both of these. This particular one shows some really good information. But what I want you to catch is that this, you can actually search for these pre-foreclosure foreclosed properties. And here's one that it says September 27th of 24, there was a transaction. It was a sheriff's deed. The seller was Macomb County. Macomb County Sheriff was the seller. Here's what we know. Planet Home Lending was probably the lender, and they bought it at sale for what they were owed. What they were owed was $476,564. So with that, Planet Home Lending sold it to Secretary of Veteran Affairs. In short, VA. Well, how will this be handled? Through HUD, the HUD sales.
Darwin, can I ask a question? Because I'm a little
Yeah.
confused.
Go ahead.
So if the bank puts it up for sale and pays what's owed to them, so now they're owed twice as much.
Well, let me have you stop for just a second, and then we'll carry on. So it wasn't that the bank put it up for sale. The bank, through the mortgage, said, hey, Macomb County Sheriff, you need to sell this property so that we can get our money. So that's one of the reasons I wanted you to see this. It's Macomb County. It just doesn't say Macomb County Sheriff. They are the seller, not the bank. The bank bought the house. The bank didn't own it. They lent money on that.
Okay,
So the
I
seller is Macomb
understand
County
that
Sheriff.
part. I understand that part.
Okay.
But my question is if the bank says, okay, Macomb County Sheriff's Department, I want to put this on a sheriff's sale to get my money. But yet
Correct.
I'm going to turn around and pay what I owe, what is owed to me. So now I have double. So I don't understand the purpose behind that.
So see, the bank bought it. To an extent, it looks like they paid themselves and they now just lost double. But remember, they bought it, but they're going to turn around and sell it.
Still don't understand.
Yeah, it's well, she's wondering, why would I, as a lender, give somebody a boatload of money and then pay myself? Because that's really what's happening, Sherry, is that's what you're seeing. So let's round it off. I lent 500,000 and then I just paid 500,000. Yeah, but who's going to get that 500,000? I am. So really, I just got my money back. And I'm going to get my money back by turning around and selling it. That's where I'm going to get all my money.
So then you're gonna turn around and
It's-
sell it in order to get all your money back, though, you're gonna have to
Yes.
sell it for double what you paid for, or
Well,
what your
I
loan
don't
amount
wanna,
was for originally.
yeah, I don't wanna do math today. I don't know, my mind. can
Okay,
handle that
I just
very-
was like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, let me just say that it's going to be a paper wash. Scott was just making that comment here. It's a paper wash. Yeah, I paid 500, but I really didn't, because when I sell it, I'm getting that, and I'm getting the money that I was owed. That's really.
Darwin.
Yep, go ahead.
Hey, so I don't know if this will help explain it a little bit or not, but as you see, like Planet Home Lending was the seller. They were technically the mortgage company, and it went back to Secretary of Veterans Affairs. When there's a government-backed loan and the bank goes to sheriff's sale, they're basically claiming their rights to pull the insurance from whatever government-backed loan they have. So when they get the right back to own that property, so they own it, and they're able to sell it, it ensures them that they're able to collect their insurance, like your PMI insurances that are attached to the mortgage and the government-backed loan. So your VA, FHA, RD loans all have insurance attached to them. That's why those lenders use them. So when they get foreclosed on, they're able, when they get that right back to sell the house, they're able to claim the insurance policy on it to get paid. I don't know if that's helpful.
That makes more sense.
Yep. And Sherry, someday I'll be up there in Clarkson, we can always talk to. So here's what I wanted you to catch, by the way. Look at the dates of when this happened. Look at when this was listed. Look at the difference of what it sold for and what it was listed for. Why would you ever not continue to lower the price until it sells, giving yourself some money? Why this ever expired is beyond me. But here's the other part of it. This is the associated people with that transaction. Did I make my, oh, this is the other part I wanted you to be able to see. See right here? Well, we know it wasn't worth 575, it wasn't worth 608, and it wasn't for 633. Because it didn't sell for 575. But list the property and drop it down until it sells, because there was all this room that the homeowner could have still got the property sold and net money out of the sale of the property. So, there are ways to be able to search for it. Realist will do it. Miriam, I'll give her credit. There, I gotta play with her ego like that. So anyway, Realist, you can find foreclosed properties. You'll also be able to identify pre-foreclosure properties. Those are individuals that you may want to go talk to before it gets to a sheriff's sale. Know that they probably are getting letters and everything else. So my best thought is go see the people. Go see them. They need somebody that can guide them and hold them, and somebody they can like, trust, and respect. Sounds like taking a listing.
Hey, Darwin, I had a situation like over 10 years ago. The property was in the redemption period. It was listed with the real estate agent, and the property was also put on auction.com through Freddie. Okay. My buyers purchased the property through the auction.com website. Okay. So now my buyers are basically the bank now, right? Because it's
Your
in the
buyer-
redemption period, and
It's in
they
the
bought
redemption.
it through,
Yep, whoever, we'll go with whoever bought it.
right.
Be
So
that
my
John Q.
buyers are
Public or the
basically now
bank.
the bank, yes. Well, then it's in the redemption period. The sellers redeemed the property in that period. So then my buyers ended up getting money back from the purchase. They bought it for 35,000 and they ended up walking away with 52,000 because they had to pay the penalties and interest when they redeemed the property.
Yes. Yep.
So they made, in a 6 weeks period, they made $20,000.
And that was that an investor?
No, they
Or-
wanted to buy the house and
So you were
they thought they
using
could do
the
it through
previous scenario with the underbid.
yeah, they thought they could get it with through auction.com, but then the sellers went and redeemed the property.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. And what I would just tell you is I needed you to be aware that these scenarios are out there and that there are ways for you to make money. You got a lot of it, be an investor, take advantage of it. On the other hand, you don't have the money, then go take care of people, list properties, get them sold. That's how you're going to help people and make money by doing it.
Stay away from the auction.
Yeah, I would agree. Because remember, the aspect of the auction is you can buy a property, but there's no guarantee you're going to end up with it. And there's no guarantee of what you're going to end up with if you do end up with it. I remember the days when people would destroy the properties. There'd be no furnaces, no air conditioners, no water heaters.
The seller still lives there.
Yep.
But after you purchase the property, you are responsible to eviction.
Yeah. Oh, it's a definite one that if you're going to get into investing in these foreclosures, get a great deal of education and get experience from somebody who's actually done it.
By the way,
James?
I bought a property, I listed the property, it was going in the auction. Okay, I brought a buyer, we put everything together and got the title work. Is $1 million lien on the property.
Wow. Were you able to hear that? Did you hear what James? Good. So you heard what James' story was. So, yeah.
I
Wow.
told the auction, she goes to me, we don't know nothing about it. I'm like, you're the one who said sell the property, whatever it is.
Interesting, isn't it? Well, guys, hopefully that hits with everything. Go ahead, Martha. I see you got you there.
I have one quick thing to add. There's great content regarding foreclosures and helping folks in Back at You ready to go. All you have to do is post it and add your content and wait for the sellers to come in.
All right, good one. I did not know that stuff existed in there. Back at You has got so much. So if you haven't ever checked it out and you haven't ever got yourself set up in it, you want to definitely look to do that. So guys, I hope that you got a lot from today. Look to begin prospecting these things using Realist, using Remind Pro Tax, and just be aware of how the process really works, because you will help people in the future without doubt, as long as you're just aware of it. So we'll bring a wrap to another Hot Topic Tuesday, guys. Thanks again for hanging out. We'll talk to you soon.